A number system, or numeral or numeration system, is an organized way to represent number ideas. So some of the first number ideas and how they were represented was Babylonian mathematics. The Babylonian numeral system was the first to use sophisticated mathematical symbols that we are aware of in about 3300 BC. Now, the symbols that they used were wedge-shaped, and they were called cuneiforms. And they were used to represent ones or units. And they also used the symbol, a chevron, which was used to represent 10. Now, the Babylonian system is a base 60 system. So they would use the cuneiforms and the chevrons to represent a combination for grouping to get to 60 objects, and then they would set aside a stone or something in that sense to represent another level of grouping. The Babylonians used math in all types of situations, like in contracts and simple and compound interest. They knew a lot about geometry and algebra. They knew about similar triangles, the Pythagorean theorem, and almost certainly they're the ones that gave us 360 degrees in a circle. What we know about the Babylonians is that they were proficient in mathematics and mathematical thinking. And we know this from some 300 tablets that have been discovered over the years. Now, one of the more famous tablets is the Plimpton 322 tablet that has a date around 1800 BC, and it's notable because of all the mathematics that is on it. So, for instance, on this tablet is something about Pythagorean triples. Now, you may know what Pythagorean triples are, of course. 3, 4, 5, because 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. Or 6, 8, 10, because 6 squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. But a primitive Pythagorean triple is one where the 3, 4, 5 are relatively prime. Their only common factor is 1. They also talked about secants and tangents on this tablet. They showed a lot of mathematics. So this tablet is known for the mathematics that the Babylonians displayed. They did perfect squares. All of that is written on this tablet. So there's a lot of information that helps us understand what the Babylonians were about when it came to numeration systems. They were a place value system. A place value system. 3300 BC place value. As I said already, they were a base 60 system, but they had no zero. And they wrote their numbers horizontally. So, for instance, you see one of the numbers displayed on the screen right now. But if it's a place value system, you have to know where the places are. So let me identify the first place, where the ones would be, so to speak. And then the second place, where the 60s would be, because they are regrouping, they're grouping, there's a place value system. So if you take a few moments and figure this out, you'll see that I have 1 chevron, which is 10, and I have 5 cuneiforms, which is 5, so that should be 15. And then at the next level, I have 2 chevrons and 1 cuneiform, so that should be 21 60s. And so the number idea should be 1,275. Now, some of the fun of doing this is to make sure we can understand what's going on when we look at their numbers. And you'll see here a number written in Babylonian, but how many levels are you looking at? Well, I would challenge you to tell me what the number value is, but wait a minute, how many levels? Well, here's the first level. The first level? Yes, here's the first level. And the first level seems complicated because you see 4 chevrons, as I said, you see 4 chevrons, but you see a symbol that looks kind of odd at the first level. It's flashing. What does that symbol represent? Well, the Babylonians would subtract in their representations. They're not the only systems that do that. So those 4 chevrons are going to have subtracted from it 3 cuneiforms, so that would represent 37. And so you have 37 ones, we have 21 60s, and we have 2 3600s. Okay, come on, it's a place value system, right? So 60 times 60, you with me? Okay, now in this presentation, any of you who've ever been at one of my presentations know you can talk to me. It's okay. So what we have then is a representation for 8,497. Now, they didn't have a zero, but curiously enough, they had a placeholder. So in this representation, I asked, how many levels do you see? I'll give you a moment to figure it out. And now I'll tell you, because it's a brief history, so I got to be quick. There are 3 levels, and the second level has this placeholder. You see it flashing? That placeholder says, I don't have any 60s. But it's not really a zero because it doesn't ever get used in a way that we would use a zero idea. It just says nothing is going in this slot. So you quickly can decide that this value is, or not so quickly, but you can decide that this value is 39,635.